topics that are listed under item 1. Did I get them all, Clerk Moss? Yes, I did. Hooray. Okay. Phew. That went much faster than I thought it might. So on to board communication. Who would like to go first? Okay, I'll go first.
I always have a big one.
Commissioner Fry, you're okay with that? Perfect. Okay. Again, busy week, just like always here. I attended the Beaverton Area Chamber of Commerce breakfast. It was on homelessness. It focused on, obviously, if it's the chamber, more the business impact of the situation that we all find ourselves in. The panel was a series of individuals who work in that field, and Deanna Negreet was our representative there. She did a great job. She is the Homeless Access Program Supervisor, and I just want to give a shout out to her. It was nice to see her there. It was an interesting discussion. There was a lot of tabletop discussion, and that fed back into the Beaverton Chamber for comment to the city. I had lunch with Virginia Bruce this last week. Virginia is very active in District 2. She is also the editor of the Cedar Mill newspaper or news online. And I always learn a lot from her about what's going on in the community. It was our chance to touch base on several issues. She also, I'd like to give a shout out to Marcus Ford with his moving to the city of Hillsborough. She was saying, darn, he was really doing a good job for us. So I just want to get that shout out. I met with Preston Korst. He is from the Portland Metro Home Building Association. They've changed their name from Home Builders to Home Building Association, and it was in regard to the 2 open seats for the Planning Commission. I had the MPAC coordinating committee meeting, and we're a little bit out of step here because our normal meeting would fall during the Thanksgiving holiday. So we're meeting tomorrow night, which forced our planning committee meeting for December a little early, but nonetheless, we're on track there. Let's see. I also attended last week on Tuesday the Home Plate ribbon cutting, and that's for the new location of Home Plate. They're very appreciative about the support that came from the county, and a special shout out to Tanya for making that happen. So, and the work that we did together on that. So thank you.
If I can clarify, I processed.
Okay.
This aligns with what the ARPA goals were, and also our housing and homelessness strategy.
And if I can editorialize just a moment, yes, Tanya processed it, but she was also the creative thinker in the process as to how to meet these needs in a complex situation. So thank you for that.
I didn't know we had money in it. Yes, reason why I didn't attend.
Well, and they've been fairly quiet about this too. So they didn't talk about the city of Beaverton or Washington County, or it was more just we're happy to be here type of ribbon cutting. And I didn't get invited until the day I was on the tour, and we went by Home Plate, and they said, "Oh, are you coming?" And I said, "Well, I didn't receive an invitation." So that's how I got invited as well. So just so that you know. Yesterday I had a meeting with Comey Calabar and a group out of New York called Avenue One, and they are a property technology service platform that works in bringing institutional capital to the single family rental market. And it was just an interesting meeting. I asked Comey if he'd be interested in talking, and he said, you know, Commissioner, I go to these meetings, and maybe 1 out of 10 is produces something. But if I miss the wrong meeting, I wouldn't get there. So I appreciated his flexibility, and they're going to be getting back to us to demonstrate how their model would work in our marketplace. I met yesterday with Hampton Lumber with Laura Wilkinson and Steve Zika, and that was an opportunity to learn from their perspective what the HCP and the habitat conservation plan and the forest management plan, what the impacts are on their business and their perception of the impacts in Oregon. I also met with Elizabeth Steiner Hayward yesterday. And just like the other legislators in Washington County, I'm trying to make sure that I establish relationships and work toward building those relationships as we enter into the session. Both of us decided that it was really hard to talk about much until after today. So, but we did have a nice chat about some other issues too. And last night I attended the ACRE meeting. It was my first opportunity to meet in person because I can't remember why it was. I think it was because I was still jet lagged from Copenhagen that I didn't attend the first one in person. But it was great to be here. I really appreciated the group. Dorian Russell did a great job in kind of an intro to ARPA. Tanya did a great job in the overview of the county. And it was really interesting to hear the interaction from this group. They're an active, engaged group that clearly has opinions and clearly wants to share those, which is exactly what we want to be seeing, I believe. The other shout out is to Don for his ability to manage the meeting. He did a great job. He had a very clever opening activity where he handed a little purse out that had coins. You picked a coin, and the year of the coin, you had to talk about what you were doing in that year. So I thought it was a great icebreaker. With that, let's see what have I got coming up. This week I have a lunch with Commissioner Jayapal. We're going to be talking about AOC. I have a board meeting with Central Cultural Impact and another impact coordinating committee. So there we go. Next.
Boy, that was quite a report.
Oh, yes, yeah, I'm just quite a person.
We're not proud of ourselves. We will be.
That's right.
Okay. Well, I'm obviously healthy and back. I thought maybe I might have COVID, so I stayed away from everybody. I only had a couple of small meetings, one with work systems and another one with a constituent, and that was about it. This coming week, packed. Salem with all the ACT chairs around the state to meet with the Park District. Suspect about the same issues everybody else has dealt with. Yeah, and some others, but I'll give that report next Tuesday. Anyway, that's it. So I'll be brief.
On work systems, given the flow of dollars, particularly from the feds to help strengthen career opportunities, have you seen the opportunity for Washington County funds to be leveraged?
Absolutely. In fact, we used to be a very minor player, as you know. And as time has gone on, we have made more contributions, and what's happening is that those are being leveraged. Multnomah County and Portland are very happy to see that we're a player in that process. What I'm most proud of there is we've come to realization. It's my personal bias, so I admit that. I came from an era in which folks couldn't go to school because they didn't have any money, and we were the first generation, and so everything was about getting a college degree, and that's not so true. That really isn't true, and it takes a couple of generations to figure out the trades are really important, and nothing wrong with having lots of other kinds we typically call collar work. So work system is really investing heavily in everything from summer works to programs that will get people reemployed. I've agreed to speak at one of their graduations in about a week and a half. So I'm excited about that the direction is being more holistic. Not every kid is 16, 17, and he probably knows about the education. Not every 16, 17-year-old needs or wants to go on to a 4 years, but they need to go on to a career.
Yep.
And there's great careers in the trades, big, great careers. And so we're emphasizing that. But thank you for asking, because we're getting recognized as being a player. Metro, by the way, is being invited to join work system.
One of the things that I've also learned through our ARPA work with work systems is it's not just the construction trades, but building up the behavioral health workforce, and so forth, that
Also-
Work Systems has been helping with a lot of
The haulers.
re-careering, is that the phrase?
Yeah, retraining, regearing. They're getting certificates of completion in areas that are transferable skills. So I don't mean to get excited about it, but it's a great program, and I'm glad to get kids off the streets into jobs, because that's what's really important. Poverty goes away. Pam Treese would say it sometime, remember? Poverty goes away when people get jobs.
Well, maybe that is your keynote topic for our town hall
Happy to-
in December. Yeah, that's great. Commissioner Fai, how about you? You have my favorite color on today, purple.
Purple. Thank you. Yeah, this week is the color is purple and black. And we're keeping that theme. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I am unable to be in person with you all this morning, but I will be virtually for both meetings. And in terms of our last week, we had our roundtable last week, and I thought the topic of our roundtable was very interesting. I very much enjoyed the earthquake drill, as well as the scenario work that we did. And I know Commissioner Pam Treese mentioned that although the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake brought this work to our table, but it felt like it was really an example or a scenario that can be applied across various emergencies that we could face, and look forward to having a more of a condensed and focused work session from our staff, and look forward to carrying that conversation. The Beaverton Business Breakout Breakfast Forum hosted by the Beaverton Chamber of Commerce. And sorry, Commissioner Pam Treese, I wasn't able to join you last week, but my staff did attend, and really gave me a lot of good notes and feedback, as you mentioned. And this week, I had the opportunity yesterday to attend the Goldcrest groundbreaking celebration. It was very cold and raining. So I think while we can't stop the work, it was necessary to be out there in the cold, because this is an opportunity to bring 75 affordable housing units online in about short time. A year and a half is the estimation that yesterday we were hearing. And one of the things I wanted to share to the group, was Chair Harrington, you were also a speaker there. So I left a big talk. I meant to mention that. I was like, Chair Harrington's going to cover Washington. I'll just say, the issue about, just wanted to uplift the social determinants of health and well-being, housing being a key one, and then tying it to the homeless situation and how to solve the homelessness problem that we have. It's housing. So this was really an exciting project to hear, to learn that 75 units in about short time will be online. And one of the other things that I thought was really interesting is in that area that Goldcrest is going to be located, there are no regulated affordable housing. So it's exciting times. I want to congratulate our staff who worked on this project. Myself, I had nothing to do with it, all that work, even though I had the opportunity to speak yesterday. So Washington County staff, Tanya, congratulations, and very exciting work. And yesterday we also had WCCC, and we had a workshop because JPAC is going to have a workshop, and this workshop was focused on climate policies in the RTP. And Kim Ellis, Metro, really did a holistic PowerPoint on a presentation that reviews the background, the history of Metro's climate smart strategy. So that was a good conversation to hear what the mayors and the cities are thinking around this issue. And they had a really good feedback. A lot of stuff were focused on electrification, the need for e-bike rebate, Microgridding was mentioned, and another thing that came up was perhaps entertaining the idea of providing electrical cars for folks who are facing low income um, um, situations, so low income communities. And then a lot of the concerns or the feedback that I heard was, this is a great topic to discuss and great to plan in the long term, but communities are really and cities are really wanting quicker results. So that was just something that resonated with me, because I think we can all agree that we need immediate results on some of these pressing issues. And then the other thing I thought was, obviously, we're part of the conversation around tolling, EV lanes only, and notes. Uh, uh, there are no tolls for EVs. So I thought that was interesting. So a lot of electric cars focused on that conversation. So with that, this week I also have JPAC, which is going to be the same workshop. So this workshop will focus on climate smart strategies. And then I have our TV highway steering committee meeting, and that also has a heavy agenda. We're going to focus on studying more and having more discussion around the characteristics of that corridor. And we're going to try to figure out run time estimates. And so I'll keep you posted what that conversation comes about from this week. But other than that, and I also almost forgot, I also have our public health advisory committee meeting this week too. So a lot of committee meetings heavily focused on transportation and public health. So I'll report back what the takeaways was. But if you have any a burning feedback on climate smart strategies from Metro's policies, please let me know, then I can carry back. But this is just to have a discussion, not to, there's no decision making so far.
I would say on the climate smart work, we keep having a lot of conversation, right? What I'd like to suggest is that we bring the topic of climate back to our work session conversation in the afternoon on the legislative agenda. I know that Commissioner Rogers and I each during our elected tenures need to make accommodations for the goal setting that the state legislature has put into place. And with the work of climate smart communities, the region identified what we could do, but some of those same strategies involve needing financial support to put those strategies into action. And time has passed, and those strategies still sit there wanting for additional support. So I think with the news that's coming out of the UN committee, I think we need to get clearer about, we're spending a lot of time talking about strategies that could happen if dollars fall from the sky, but without that, there isn't going to be much impact. So
Yeah,
we need to be able to tell that story at all levels. Metro lobbyists, county lobbyists, city lobbyists, to the state legislature. But anyway, now I'm getting ahead of myself. I was just wanting to suggest that we come back to it this afternoon.
yeah, no, certainly. And I can take that feedback to my discussion at JPAC too. I was surprised to hear yesterday, the document, the word investments is in parentheses, and surprisingly it didn't come up yesterday. But yeah, we have to talk about the funding mechanisms of these strategies, otherwise they won't work.
Yeah.
And that concludes my report, Chair Harrington.
Great. quick question. How many of us are going to AOC next week? Just,
I'm raising and putting my hand down because I'm planning to attend some of it and not all.
okay, okay. And Commissioner Willie is planning on,
Didn't he?
yeah,
I
but
do,
he
I guess.
might be
Going to England for the annual
on Thursday. Yep, yep. Thursday is the day where we elect new leaders, approve any bylaw changes, and also approve the budget for the agency. So that's a big decision day.
So you asked who's attending as commissioners. Do we know who is attending as staff?
Oh, no, I don't. Is that
That's,
Daniel?
Daniel, Megan?
Daniel, Aaron, Megan?
The whole GR team is
Oh.
attending along with myself.
Okay,
Great, thank
Great.
you.
great. Are there, county administrator meetings that go on simultaneously?
Yes, the county administrators have a track of sessions that run concurrently with some of the commissioner sessions. And then we have our business meeting as well.
Great,
As do the lawyers. So Brad Anderson and Rob Bavette will be there.
okay, terrific.
Brad's speaking about something. Could be two things.
Do the GR folks from different counties convene? Well, you,
We attend the sessions that are tracked for all counties, but we are meeting separate. So for some GR stuff for dinner.
oh, cool, great. Do we have a county dinner arranged?
Megan and I. are
Megan.
working on that.
Oh,
And
terrific.
Megan.
Well,
And-
what we don't have, and Megan and I have tried to work on this, we don't have an opportunity really to bring District 8 together like I had wanted to, but we're going to be doing that next year. So we were too late in getting started, and so that's going to be on the books for next year. And thank you to Megan for all the work that you tried to do anyway.
And commissioners, similar to commissioner committees that you all sit on, there's several committees or subject matter expert breakouts for staff. And so we'll collect a comprehensive list of Washington County attendees. For example, Steve Berger typically attends for the community corrections group. I believe Nick Cocoon is going to be gathering for behavioral health, but that way you know who's in attendance from staff.
I appreciate that mostly because I want to be able to support them in that role as well.
And Commissioner Treese and I are each going down for the dinner on Monday night.
Correct.
And she and I each have a joint meeting with
The group.
with Commissioner DeGroot, who's running to be the president, as well, to go over the due structure. So once the packet is available for that, we can see what the modified due structure.
7.5.
Hmm?
The 7.5.
Yes, yes. Commissioner Fye, your hand is up.
Yeah, two things. First one, Brenda is also one of the staff attending as well. Brenda Bartlett, my staff. And then the other thing, Chair Harrington, I had a question for you. You mentioned the Thursday and electing new members. All right, were you making that comment to emphasize it's important that we attend? Because I'm not sure if
Yes.
I'm able to vote.
You can
Every
vote remotely.
commissioner gets to vote.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, every
Noted.
commissioner has standing to vote.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'll talk to Brenda then. I'll perhaps prioritize that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. As for me, well, we were together Tuesday and Wednesday of last week. Then on Thursday, Commissioner and Fye and I had the opportunity to join our staff to tour 2 of the homeless encampments, generally in the Aloha area, the 197th baseline encampment and the Shaw Street encampment. They have different characteristics, and it was really interesting to see how the 197th baseline has changed over time, as it's been 2.5 years. But also given the stormy weather that was coming in this weekend, there was one tent that was placed. According to our staff, it wasn't there the prior day, but it was there on Thursday, and it was in the floodplain. But it turns out those folks had hotel accommodations that they were moving to. There's been a lot of digging done to the encampment. I was amazed by the number of propane tanks that were there. Another situation is that folks from the community have been dropping off quantities of food, and it's thinking they're helping, but it's not necessarily food that the encampment folks want. And so it's just been dumped, which then causes varmint problems and so forth. At the Shaw Street site, the railroad has begun installing concrete partitions along the boundary of their right of way. And many of the encampment installations have been putting up pallets, which seems like it's intended as a bit of a barrier, given that they're camping right along the street, but any car going, 5 miles an hour or more isn't going to have an impact, isn't going to be impacted by those pallets much. So, there's great cause for concern. I really applaud our staff's work to get the alternative site structures up, and they've learned a lot about those structures. If only there were more sites available, we would be able to do more. But I am sensitive, very sensitive to the frustration of our community members. I can relate to those frustrations, and want us to be able to move as swiftly as we possibly can. And I know our staff is doing so. Also on Thursday, I had a tour of the affordable housing bond project in Cornelius known as Plaza Los Amigos, that is being constructed by Bienestar. That one, it has it's a very large solution set, I think 174 homes. So it's pretty exciting. And compliments to our staff. Commissioner Fye mentioned that she and I were at the Goldcrest groundbreaking. That was a potential property that the city of Beaverton shared with our team. The city had used their affordable housing bond dollars for the Wish Camper site, and Comey and Shannon and the other team members practiced the art of the possible to help make Goldcrest happen. They've been working on that project for 3 years, since 2019. And now they're hoping, it was repeated a number of times yesterday, that the construction will be completed in 18 months. But I really appreciate the teams following through, practicing creativity. They have a lot to be proud of as a result of their project work throughout our community. On Friday, another wet, stormy day, I had the tour of Cooper Mountain. I know Cooper Mountain Nature Park very well, partly from having been a Metro councilor when that was opened as a nature park, but also being a resident, I'm up there quite frequently. So I applaud the opportunity for additional properties to be acquired there. And we will no doubt all of the communities that are proximate to that regional park. So THPRD, Beaverton, Tigard, Hillsborough, and Washington County will likely need to contribute some local share funding to make that happen.
You did pick the worst day that we've had so far this year, I think, to attend that.
Yep, it was pretty wet. Yesterday was also very wet. If you've seen the pictures, with the groundbreaking, I refused to let go of the umbrella. I managed to use a shovel one-handed. As Commissioner Treese mentioned, I need to get a prop. Oh. We had the Advisory Council on Racial Equity, and we have pipe cleaners as fidget toys. I think was this yours or was this Ms. Tillman's?
No, all three of them were mine.
A little election anxiety going on, I think. There's a lot at stake tonight with so many different positions open all throughout our state, legislature, you name it. So please vote, everyone. And I'm hoping that our elections team will be doing some updates differently than in May. After election night, so it was Tuesday, and then after the Friday, then they switched to once a week. And I'm hoping that they'll consider twice a week because it was a hard experience to see the Secretary of State's page for Washington County indicate more ballots processed, because that number goes up when the signature is verified, yet you have to wait 7 days for seeing more results. So, so we'll see what happens. So I'm just hoping. But also, the only reason I know this is because I was getting peppered with questions in May, and it was the first election where we had the postmark. So we were seeing how it was going, but I couldn't explain why the numbers were always different. So I had a call with the Secretary of State's office to try to understand the system so that I could better explain it. And I said, well, why don't you make that clear? And they were like, well, you know, we make suggestions to each county, but then each county does it differently. And I was like, oh, but the constituents have all these questions. We need to be clearer. So anyway, do you have anything you'd like to add, Ms. Angie, on that?
I do, and that was going to be the first item of my update.
Oh, well, then let me
election.
just
Okay.
finish real quick. This week we have the really the second meeting of the Tri-County Planning Body digging into its work and for SHS, and the two co-chairs have met with Metro staff and county staff to propose a work plan to work towards the requirement of developing the regional strategy. So I think it's starting to get momentum, and I'm pleased about that. Saturday, you've all hopefully received the invitation to the annual dinner at the Muslim Education Trust. They are going to be recognizing Washington County for its community support during the pandemic. So that's it for me.
Okay, good morning, Chair Harrington and Board of Commissioners. It is Elections Day, so I do want to provide you an update, and Chair, I will share kind of next steps in reporting. So as of yesterday, our Elections Office has received 169,045 ballots. This represents a 43% turnout of registered voters so far.
Already.
Wow.
This is still actually trending under the average turnout at this time of 46%
Really?
for vote by mail process measured over the last 3 gubernatorial cycles. So hopefully we'll be seeing those numbers go up today. So for any community member, registered voter listening, please submit your ballot. It is incredibly important. And for voters, you have until 8 p.m. tonight to turn in ballot envelopes to an official ballot drop site, or to have your envelopes postmarked by today. And don't forget to sign the back of your envelope. So as far as elections reporting timing, I do want to provide a bit of clarification because of a recent Oregonian article. So staff will be, the first round of elections reporting will be posted to the Oregon Secretary of State's website just after 8 p.m. tonight. And we will post unofficial results starting at 8 p.m. and then hourly until midnight. So that is consistent with the practice that Washington County has had in the past. That information was not as clear as it could have been in the article. So our communications team will be clarifying that with the Oregonian in case they post the information anywhere. This information is available on our website, so community members that are interested can look at that. Chair, thank you for your feedback on the discrepancy between Secretary of State's and our posting timeline. Staff will take that feedback and look at our timing process. What I want to be thoughtful about right now is just the extreme workload our staff is facing and what can be realistic to accomplish this year, and then how can we iterate and improve processes in the future. I just want to take us back to this spring and election. We did have a website outage on election night as well. And it wasn't the website, it was actually our hardware. And so I'm confident that won't happen again. Our ITS staff has done after action to ensure, I can't ever not say that something would happen again, but I'm really confident in the staff steps that have taken place to ensure that we do have information available to our public. From a public standpoint, I would also encourage, there's comfort in having the Washington County website and the Secretary of State, because we do have a redundancy in the system and access to information. Any questions on elections or reporting?
Comment. I know our staff has always been very politically astute not to do this, but if you heard what Clackamas County is doing, they're going to give one run a little after 8, and they're not going to give any more until I think 24 hours later. I suspect that there'll be people who will ask, well, how come you're doing it and they can't? And I would hope that we would stay clear of that issue. You're always tactful on doing that sort of thing, but I'm just surprised what they're doing. But it's very interesting when you got congressional races that are impacted so big.
Staff understand the importance of integrity of the elections process, Commissioner Rogers, and we're staying with the same process we have as in the past. And if there is a change in the process, we will make sure that there's ample notice to inform the public and inform the board of any change that is needed. Integrity is important.
Yeah, no, I agree. Mine was more about not commenting on others.
Integrity is important. I do want to share some really great news about our human resources staff, Brianna Jackson, who was just before your board last week in a work session talking about workforce planning, succession, and our data. Brianna Jackson is the county's learning and development program manager. She is our first learning and development program manager here at the county and has been named as the recipient of 2022 Excellence in Learning and Performance Award. This award is open to persons of color who have led innovation, built momentum, and overcome barriers, resulting in a healthier, higher performing organization. Nationally, only 11% of learning and development professionals are people of color. The Learning and Professional Excellence Award is designed to amplify the voice and visibility of people of color who are leaders in their field and doing work that helps realize everyone's fullest potential. So I personally value Brianna's contributions and her leadership, and it's really great to see her receive this national award.
What organization provides this national award?
So I forgot to take note of that. So I will email that to the board.
Sorry.
It is a learning and
thought I-
development professional organization.
Yes, perfect. Yep.
Sometimes I get lost in the acronym soup. I do want to share an update. A few of you had raised ARPA and ARPA allocations, and I just want to share the evolution of our COVID racial equity working group. On October 27th, staff met with the COVID Racial Equity Working Group. This work group of culturally specific or culturally responsive community-based organizations, which was originally convened by Washington County in response to COVID-19. The focus is shifting from an initial public health to representation across sectors in conjunction with Washington County's multi-jurisdictional community engagement effort. At the meeting, staff provided a review of the American Rescue Plan Act and facilitated a dialogue to understand what is needed to best engage community partners through phase 2. Key takeaways included positive sentiments around the opportunity to connect as community partners, as well as for the information shared. In addition, there was enthusiasm expressed for future opportunities available through the work group and ARPA recovery priorities, including in the areas of small business, economic development, workforce, mental, physical, and behavioral health, housing, and childcare. This is consistent to what Chair Harrington and Commissioner Treese heard at the ACRE meeting last night. See, I do feel like I just stayed last night. There was also an emphasis on moving from short-term to long-term and sustainable recovery efforts through capacity building. This information, as I indicated, was shared at the ACRE committee, and I thought it was important to bring this forward to your whole board. Community engagement and ARPA staff will provide a comprehensive overview of community engagement outcomes at the next ARPA board discussion, which is currently scheduled till January. We originally had that scheduling within the next few weeks. However, due to the need to have comprehensive engagement, we really needed more time to come back to your board. And that concludes my weekly update.
This was the program that we supported doing jointly with the city of Beaverton and the city of Hillsborough. And I knew it was happening, but it was filed in the recesses of my brain. And then wham, they came in with the update. And it wasn't just an update. I was blown away by the effective results. The number of community groups that are participating is really impressive. So the fruits of this will really pay off for the larger Washington County. And so I had really forgotten that this was an active program that Dorian and others have been working on, simply because it wasn't something that I was seeing on a regular basis. So thank you, Ms. Angie and the rest of the team for continuing to do that good work to lead towards these all important milestones.
I will also share, I think this was raised in the ACRE meeting. It also came through the community engagement. We are learning a lot about how to best partner with our community-based organizations. Government contracting can be challenging at best sometimes. And so the needs to get dollars out, but how that process is received through various size organizations is a process. I think we learned a lot through the CARES dollars allocations, and we continue to learn through that process. The challenge we do have is federal treasury requirements too. So I'm hopeful and actually confident through continued conversation, we can continue to iterate and improve while meeting our needed compliance and risk and liability needs.
Mr. Carr, how about you?
Thank you, Chair Harrington. Good morning, Board. We continue to be involved in much litigation. A couple of cases I want to tell you about this morning. One I talked about last week, Thielman against Washington County, which is a challenge to our election system. And it was a request for expedited discovery to sort of get a picture of all of our computers. The judge rejected that out of hand and suggested that we might want to move to dismiss so that discovery might not be necessary. So John Mansfield and Jason Bush have been working on that. And I think that's well in hand. On Friday, we got sued again. Actually, you all got sued personally in this one.
In our professional capacity.
No, it's in your, they say in your individual capacity, but it doesn't matter. It's not in your individual capacity, really. It's done by people who are not represented by counsel and they don't really understand it. We'll take care of that part. I know it's important to you. It's not really a major issue because they can't see you in your personal capacity for this sort of stuff.
I don't know what constitutes my personal capacity.
Well, if you were to reach across and shoot me, that would be acting in your personal capacity. But if you pass something in your working as a commissioner, that's your government capacity. So it's the difference between individual and what they're accusing you of is it's so hard to explain. And that's actually one of the comments I wanted to make. The allegation is that that clear ballot, when the county uses to count the ballots, is required by federal law to be certified by a federal lab. There are two federal labs in the United States that do this. One is a company called ProVNV out of Birmingham, Alabama. They certify clear ballot repeatedly. Someone found on their website that lab, their certification certificate from the Elections Assistance Commission, the federal commission, was out of date. And that has sprung a series of lawsuits around the country. It turns out the Elections Assistance Commission has issued a statement saying that they're not out of date. They're in fact legally certified. There's no issue here. But there are currently 3 lawsuits pending in Oregon, one against the Secretary of State, one against the Commissioner of Wasco County, and one against you as Commissioners of Washington County. The other 2 have already been removed to federal court, and the Secretary of State has moved to dismiss. We removed our case this morning. We will also be moving to dismiss eventually. But I think that the bright side of this is, as you all know, there are thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands of people who are looking very closely at every element of our election system, making public records requests, looking at all sorts of documents, and they have found almost nothing. And I mean, we're dealing with a lawsuit about something that happened in Mesa, Colorado to a different system, and the other one to a certification that was on a website that was out of date when in fact they were actually legally certified. So if that's all they found, it gives me much faith in the strength and professionalism of our election system and how well it's working. When you subject a system to that amount of scrutiny and you find virtually nothing, it's amazing. So we will be defending this lawsuit, and I would not be very much concerned about it. Commissioner Treese.
I thank you for explaining that situation. And I think that I too take comfort in the fact that there's no there, right? But there is still a perception in our public that I think we deal with. So I would encourage us to look at how do we talk about that suit, and how do we say, what the results were. I'm interested in not only dealing with the facts, but also dealing with the perception. And I think that's our responsibility as well.
And to take it a little further, our system, as you know, is not connected to the internet. So it's virtually impossible to hack it. There's no suggestion at all that anybody has had any access at all. The suggestion is that a certification laboratory had a lapse in their federal certification, and not that anything that Clear Ballot did was wrong. So our system is incredibly, and the other thing that's important to me and important from our elections folks is that we want to deal with this quickly. We don't want any suggestion that there's anything wrong with our ballot counting system during the certification process.
So the long and short of it is folks are asking a lot of questions. So there's been a lot of activity that ends up with the results of, once again, affirming that we have a very solid election system. It's very sound and very strong.
Yes.
Onward, ho we go.
I did want to credit Jason Bush and John Mansfield for all their hard work, and I decided to have some fun. I'm handling the other case personally with Jason. So
Could you do one favor in that regard, and just real quick, not now, but maybe to us individually. Since usually we get sued as a board, not individually. I always want to turn it back to the attorneys, but I have no idea who these folks are, who might contact us, because you never know in your daily business, somebody says, hey, what do you think about it? And why are you this or that? And I saw your memo and I read that and appreciate you speaking about it today, but would you send separately who we should be cautioned not to, other than everybody, I guess, about this particular suit?
yes, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Thanks for keeping us out of jail.
There is no
Well,
election.
thanks for reporting the truth as
Yeah.
well.
Why don't we finish up with Clean Water Services communication, and then we'll move to our business meeting. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Harrington, members, Clean Water Services Board. Diane's out today, ill, so I'm covering a couple of things that I wanted to update you on. Is last Friday, as you were taking your tour of Cooper Mountain, you saw that rain. That really was the first real significant rainfall we've had this year. So we had crews out most of the time. We're fortunate the groundwater level is pretty low, stream levels are pretty low, and leaves are still on trees. We didn't see serious problems there. The other thing I wanted to give you a heads up on is there is a disease that is causing illness and death of a number of birds out at Fernhill Wetlands, and in fact throughout the Willamette Basin right now, and primarily focused on migrating geese. So at Fernhill Wetlands, and then also up and down, as I said, the Willamette Basin. Over the last week, we've picked up more than 100 dead birds in that area. We are working with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife to respond to that. Shipping the birds to Clackamas County office for a necropsy to see what the problem is there. Other birds are being looked at as well.
This isn't related to the problem with bats.
No, I don't believe so. And I don't know, but no, I do not believe so. So we've got signs up at the site as well as on the Fernhill website. We're working closely with the City of Forest Grove, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the Fernhill volunteers. And as always, we tell people that you should stay away from the birds. You shouldn't be handling them in any way. You shouldn't be feeding them anyway. But we are responding to that together with ODF&W.
Is Jackson Bottom Wetlands seeing this too?
No, not yet. We had a similar incident about 20 years ago too, with something called aspergillosis, which was a fungal infection that's caused from a grain. They don't think that that's what the cause is this time, but they're not totally certain, and we'll know more. ODF&W will be able to provide us more information after they finish kind of the investigation there. The last thing I wanted to tell you about is last Wednesday, we stopped releasing water from Hague Lake. As you know, we release water in the summer to maintain flows in the river for water quality and fish habitat. This is one of the shorter release periods we've had. As you recall, we had a very, very wet spring. So we did not start releasing water till late June. So we only released 129 days. As you may recall, in 2019, we released for 198 days. So it's very, very dry. So we used about 80% of the water we have behind Hague Lake and about 65 to 70% of the water we have in Barney Reservoir. But obviously the rain's here, so we're done with that. Oh, yes, and as Commissioner Rogers was saying, is I'm not supposed to forget that November 19th is World Toilet Day, that we will be recognizing the importance of sanitation worldwide. As you saw in our newsletter that we sent out this morning, that was highlighted. The other thing is Dr. Ting Lu will be joining us this morning at the beginning part of the of the meeting. Thanks for the invitation to recognize her award. So we will do that right at the beginning. And that's all I have.
Terrific. Great. Thanks for letting us overextend into the 10 o'clock hour. We will pause the work session here and adjourn to the auditorium and take care of that business and then reconvene back here likely at 10:45. Thank you.